So this is Crataegus, a beautiful hawthorn. She goes by many names, including white thorn and the May tree, simply because she blossoms in the month of May, highlighting that summer has indeed begun. Now she's easily identifiable. She has her beautiful white flowers that are a dead giveaway. Each flower contains 5 petals, and often those flowers do come in different shades of pink. We have our woody branches and thorns, and then we also have her deeply lobed leaves. Each leaf contains between 5 and 7 deep lobes. Now those leaves are edible, but as the summer months progress they tend to get quite papery and not so nice to chew or digest for that matter. In the autumn time we have her berries that you will see appear on our hedgerows, highlighting that the autumn months has set in. And those berries too are edible. They are full of antioxidants, full of vitamins, vitamin A and K in particular, and then minerals such as zinc and iron and magnesium as well. Now those berries are consumable, but you do need to depict those berries first before you attempt to consume them. They're very high in pectin, so they make very nice jams and jellies, and we would use them in the same way as we would use cranberries. So those berries, once dried, can be used in the likes of soups and salads and those kind of dishes. Traditionally those berries would have made a nice addition to our Christmas stuffings that we'd have during the festive seasons. So a very nice berry to consume in the winter months, full of nutrition. So in terms of her medical properties, well, she's one of the best, if not the best, heart medicine. She treats all heart-related issues, so she's a complete heart tonic. She's also an astringent herb, so she tightens and tones and protects the muscles of the heart. But she also tightens and tones all the veins and arteries in the body, and she's known to move plaque within those arteries. She's a circulatory herb, so she moves blood. And she's also a herb that finds the right homeostasis in terms of blood pressure as well. So she finds the right balance within the blood. She brings blood pressure up when necessary, and she lowers blood pressure as well in the body when necessary. So she's a fabulous herb to have for all heart related issues. So in terms of her history and her folklore, well, first of all, the hawthorn can grow up to 700 years old. She makes a great boundary bush, so she keeps cattle in the field and predators outside. So she is really good at establishing strong boundaries, and she protects all that comes near her. She is also a tree that, if you see her growing alone in a farmer's field, completely displaced, it's believed that that tree marks the boundaries between this world and the next. She marks a threshold between this world and the other world. And it is believed that the fairy folk dwell there. And of course, to cut her down in any shape or form would no doubtly bring you no end of bad luck. In fact, the only day that it was acceptable to cut any part of this tree down was on May Day, in preparations for the May Day celebrations. Her needles, or should I say her thorns, were used as needles both for medical use and sewing. Her needles would have also been used for fishing hooks. But what I find very interesting about this tree is that her flowers produce a chemical called triethylamine. Now, during the time of the Great Plague in the UK, she was a tree that was associated with death, and people feared her for many centuries after the Great Plague, because triethylamine is also a chemical that is released in decaying bodies. And back in those times, people would have laid their loved ones out at home, long before we had funeral parlours and what have you. So wakes would have been a common thing back in those days, and people would have been familiar with the smell of death. So she was quite a feared tree at that time and for many moons afterwards. And it's not completely uncommon, although it is rare, but we do find in our Irish history bodies dating from the famine time buried beneath the hawthorn tree. And I can only hazard a guess as to why. During the Great Famine of Ireland, people were buried in great pits and not very dignified. And for some people, they felt that by burying their loved one, even though it was on sacred ground, by burying their loved one beneath the hawthorn tree, that their body would rest in peace for many centuries to come, because the hawthorn was sacred and would never be disturbed. It was a little bit more dignified than burying the loved ones in those huge pits. So Hawthorn has a huge history. For us, she represents our country, our culture and our people. She is the Crataegus species. In our native tongue she's Scach Gael, and she's one of our wise and ancient trees of this country. This is Hawthorn, Crataegus, Scach Gael. She represents us, our people and our country.